All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Montrose Forum. It looks like the snow has kept some people away. I was telling Ashley this morning that a lot of people will watch her on Facebook, so now she'll be a Facebook sensation. So let me start out by saying to commemorate Pearl Harbor Day. So if there are any veterans that are active or retired, could you just raise your hands, please, so we can acknowledge you? Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you very much. Pearl Harbor Day is a big deal, and it should always, always be a big deal. And your children are in the armed forces, correct? Don't you have some, right?
My sister and my brother.
Your sister and your brother, I knew that. So we're thinking of them. We thank them for their service and everybody else. So today I'm pleased to have Ashley Ballard here this morning. She's a sergeant with the Colorado Army National Guard. She's also a graduate of Montrose High School. So that's kudos to us. Her husband is a lieutenant with the Colorado National Guard. She drove down this morning from Grand Junction, Colorado. So that's commendable even in itself. Her husband is a lieutenant. She has 3 children. It won't take you long to feel that she really, really, really does love her job, and she loves all the aspects of the Colorado National Army Guard. Mike is from the county, and it's also her boss. So when we got here, Mike, I'd like to say, she looked at me, she goes, now I'm nervous. I wasn't before. So don't you make her nervous for this, Mike. So without further ado, I'll turn the microphone over to Ashley. Again, as always, we want your questions, but we want you to keep them in your head at the very end of her presentation. If you raise your hand, we'll bring you the microphone, and you can ask her questions, all right? So let's give her a round of applause. And Mr. Bill, welcome for coming here. And Ashley, it's all yours.
All right, good morning. I'm terrible with microphones. I either am too far away or like eating it. So I'm gonna try my best. Like she said, I'm a staff sergeant in the Colorado National Guard. I've been in for a little over 11 years, turned my life around 180 degrees, and it was the best decision of my life. I didn't join until I was 28. I had a rough patch in my early 20s, but I got over it, and now I couldn't be happier. So today I'm going to go over a little bit about the different branches of the military, what the National Guard is, what we do, the history of the Guard in Colorado, and then the history of the unit in Montrose, and then a little bit about the different things that Colorado does in the National Guard. And then I'm going to throw Mike under the bus one more time. He is actually a chief in the unit here in Montrose and can answer a whole bunch more questions than I can, because as a recruiter, I need to know more about the generalities of the state of Colorado and not the specifics of each individual unit. So with him being in the actual unit, he can answer more questions if you have more questions about the specific units. I know more about like bonuses, incentives, things for like recruiting purposes. So there are, I'm going to stand over here because my notes are on the PowerPoint, and that way I'm not in front of this screen. I hope that's not an issue for anyone. So there are 4 main branches of the military. We all know this: Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps. The Army and Air Force they all have a reserve component, right? The Army and Air Force are the only ones that have a National Guard component. And technically, we are not components of the active duty because we work for the state that we are a part of. And this goes on to the next slide. We have dual missions. We are considered citizen soldiers. So we're composed primarily of civilians who work civilian jobs, who serve our community, our state, and our country on a part-time basis. 1 weekend a month, like a Saturday, Sunday, and then 2 weeks in the summer. Our primary mission is a state mission, so if the governor needs us for things like blizzards, fire support, flood support, he can call us up for that. Our biggest one recently was COVID support. We had a vast majority of the Colorado Guard was called up for COVID support. We also have a federal mission. When the president needs us to support him federally, overseas, or domestically, then he can call upon the governor of Colorado and say, hey, I need some extra hands. Can I have some, please? And the governor's like, yes, here, take these guys. That is the main difference between the National Guard and active duty. The active duty does not have a state mission like we do. So, a little history of the National Guard. We're officially founded December 13, 1636, and we have fought in every major American conflict from then to the present day. On May 7th, 1915, Woodrow Wilson signed into law the National Defense Act, which increased and standardized training, added funding, administered annual inspections, and required fitness and eligibility standards. So all the things we have today, like we have to go through the same enlistment processes that active duty does. So all of that stuff was put into law in that act of 1915 or 16. Since September 11th terror attack, the National Guard has mobilized more than 500,000 soldiers for federal missions, including things for September 11th, the Hurricane Katrina, which activated more than 50,000 soldiers in itself, and then more recently the COVID activations, which saw upwards of 100,000 soldiers activated around the United States. The history in Colorado. The first governor of Colorado stood up the Colorado Volunteers for, quote, the defense of the territory and to oppose the looming invasion of Confederate forces during the Civil War. So their first mission was to defeat the Texas Confederates at La Glorieta Pass in New Mexico in March of 1862. So along with all of the civil engagements that we've had inside of Colorado and our help with the civilians and natural disasters and stuff like that, we have fought in every major conflict the United States has alongside them in World War I, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. We've been in almost every country in the world in their conflicts as well. There was one thing, so in World War II, the first of the 157th, which is our infantry battalion in Colorado, was part of the liberation of the infamous Dachau concentration camp, and it's a big part of the history of Colorado, and there's a trip that veterans take every year to Germany with some of the members of the battalion, and it's heartwarming to see the history being passed down from generation to generation like that. The Colorado National Guard also supports things within the state like counter-drug, search and rescue, along with the floods and fires and stuff like that. Oh, I think the last statistic I heard was 98% of the search and rescue that happens in the summer and in the winter involves the Colorado National Guard. We take our helicopters out to help the various counties with their search and rescue to help find those stranded hikers or hunters. So the history of the Montrose unit, this was super hard for me to find because it goes back so far and the internet only started so long ago, right? We originally started as the 147th CASH, which is a Combat Area Support Hospital. I don't know when. I couldn't find a date on when we started, but I do know in 1995 it switched to Charlie 109th Area Support Medical Battalion, and they deployed in support of the War on Terror. And in 2010, they switched to the 928th Area Support Medical Company. They also deployed, I want to say in 2011, because that was right when I came in. They deployed in 2011 and then came back. And when they came back, they ended up moving to the Front Range, and they're based in Fort Carson, Colorado now. And then the unit here in Montrose switched to the 947th Engineer Company, who moved down from Grand Junction. And they have been the 947th ever since 2012. And they are slated to deploy in 2024 to Kuwait. And he can answer all those questions at the end of the presentation. They currently are authorized 155 soldiers, and they only have 126 on their books right now. So they're looking to fill all of those vacancies before they deploy so they can have a full manning roster. They are a vertical and horizontal unit, so they build buildings and they make roads. They have positions from heavy equipment operators to plumbers, electricians. They have mechanics that work on their equipment. They have medics that tend to the people who get hurt. You know, they have they have communications people that, you know, keep up the radios so they can talk back and forth. They have a wide array of support positions and engineer positions so they can do their jobs. They're almost a self-sustaining unit, honestly. They don't need a whole lot of outside support. And this is them. I want to say this picture was taken in Romania. Yes, this giant picture was taken in Romania when they went on their annual training, 2016, 18. Okay, that was close. That's close. That's good. All right, so along with all the training that we do here in the United States, we're all state National Guards are part of something called a state partnership. Colorado is unique because we have two state partnerships, one with Slovenia and one with Jordan. The one we have with Slovenia, we've had since 1994, and the one with Jordan, we've had since 2004, which is unique in itself because it's the first time that any state has had a partnership with a Middle Eastern country. We do training, anything from engineer, construction, special forces development, defense support, to civil authorities, to family programs, like all this, anything that you could think the National Guard would train, we just train with this other country. Multiple training events. I think since we've stood up our programs, upwards of 277 training programs we've completed with both of these countries combined. I have been a part of one of them. In 2017, we did Operation Eager Lion in Jordan, and it was a multinational operation Germany was there, France was there, Great Britain was there, there was some other Middle Eastern countries there, and it was so amazing to see all these countries working together and to hear all the different languages and people understanding each other. And them working together on such a large scale. And then, of course, you get cultural days and you get to go out and see the country. I had the pleasure of going to Petra, which is one of the 7 wonders of the world, and oh my goodness, it is a wonder. I don't even know how they carved all that stuff in the rocks. It was absolutely amazing. My husband has been to Slovenia 3 times now, I think, and trained with their armed forces over there, and I'm super jealous because it looks like such a beautiful country, and I want to jump on the next time that they go, just to see the countryside. So here's some of our accomplishments. This slide is a little old. I think I need to update it because we've had a couple since then. In 2013, there were some big floods over in Longmont. I don't know if any of you remember. A lot of the National Guard was activated to do traffic control and entry control into neighborhoods. You wouldn't believe how many people want to drive down roads that aren't there anymore. Just like, but I have to go that way, but you can't because it's not there. And then we would be stationed in front of neighborhoods to check IDs to make sure people lived in the neighborhood. Because of looters, they would go into neighborhoods, people would evacuate, and they would go, rob houses and stuff. So that was our main job. And then after everything kind of settled down a little bit, they brought in the engineers to rebuild a lot of the roads were up there that got washed out. So that's what that picture is right there. And then in 2018, the Spring Creek fire, we did a lot of rescue for that, and then helped put the fire out with that. And then in 2020, right before COVID hit, our biathlete team made it to nationals. They qualified at regionals and made it to nationals, and then they canceled the meet because of COVID, which was very, very sad. They had a really good team that year, and they're trying to build back up to that. So we've had quite a few accomplishments Colorado has. And we also have a lot of extracurriculars you can do besides just training with your job, your 1 weekend a month. You can volunteer for extra things, like the color guards. We do color guards at all the major sporting events in the Denver area. It is volunteer, you don't get paid for those, but you do get free tickets to the event if you'd like to go. We also have shooting teams that travel across the United States if you qualify. And then we have an honor guard team. We have honor guard teams across the state. We have one in Grand Junction that honors veterans that have passed away at their funerals. That's actually my husband right there, handing the flag off before he commissioned as an officer a couple of years ago. It's one of the most prideful things that he does, and he absolutely loves to do it. I wish I could, but I wouldn't be able to stop crying. I would just tears all over. That would be me. So I know, aside from it's telling you all of the things that the National Guard does, Phoebe wanted me to tell you like why people join the Guard, why teenagers join the Guard. So I thought I'd throw this slide in there and tell you a little bit about the education benefits that we give. So maybe if you know somebody that could benefit from it. We pay college tuition at almost every college in Colorado except for some of the private ones and more expensive ones. So through our federal tuition assistance and our state tuition assistance combined, we'll pay for your college tuition. And then we have something called a Montgomery GI Bill Selected Reserve, which if you are enrolled in college full time, we pay you $428 a month. It goes directly to the student. It doesn't go to the school, doesn't go to the parents. It's a check that goes directly to the student. And then if you qualify, you get an extra $200 a month paid directly to the student. And then on top of that, you get your monthly drill pay for that 1 weekend a month that you work, which is about $250. So if you're a high schooler and you're looking to go to college full time, your tuition is paid for, and then you get, oh boy, to do math, $628, $828. Let's say about $900 a month the guard will pay you to be a full-time student. We don't pay room and board, but I mean, $900 will get you pretty far, I think, especially if you still live with your parents in the town that you grew up in, right? It's a nice supplement, so. And I think that's all I have, really. I know that was really fast. I tend to talk really fast, and it did not take up 45 minutes, and I'm really sorry. Under the bus. Yes.
So now, before we turn the microphone over to you guys for questions, I would like Mike, who's the captain of the Colorado National Guard, Army National Guard here in Montrose, to add some things. I know you can, because I can feel it coming. So, yeah, you don't have a slideshow, Mike. If you want to come out to the center and just talk about here in Montrose, we'd appreciate it.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Mike Heinzen. I'm the project manager for Public Works. I work under Mr. Keith Lowry. So I am a Chief Warrant Officer 2 in the Colorado National Guard with the 947. Is it not? No. Okay, sorry. First time. No, so we are an engineer unit. We have heavy construction equipment. We build roads, runways, maintain parking lots, stuff like that. So that's kind of the one, that's our vertical asset. Our horizontal, I apologize. The vertical side is, we have electricians, plumbers, carpenters. We have some geo tag type stuff that we can go out and survey, download that. To use for our horizontal personnel. So, we, like Ashley said, we have 155 personnel capability. We have 120, give or take, on a given day. I joined the Guard in don't age me on this one. 1994 here at the 928th. I was a medic, and then I had a 12-year break in service, and rejoined back in 2012. My whole mission to join was to come back and be a warrant officer. I've worked in construction my entire life. So I wanted to be able to share my experiences, my training, what I know with the younger soldiers that are coming into the National Guard. There's a lot of hearsays about the Guard, you know, it's a waste of time, you know, it's good, it's bad. I thoroughly enjoy it. My wife is in the National Guard. That's how we met. She was my boss, but don't tell her that. So it is thoroughly enjoyable. We get activated on some stuff on the state level. We do get the federal missions to assist and stuff. I was a part of the 2013 floods, and that was probably one of the greatest experiences I've ever had. You know, you see families that are displaced, their homes are in the middle of the wash. You know, vehicles upside down, fire trucks missing. You know, and it's just to go back and help and assist those people. You get their lives back together. It's thoroughly rewarding, and it's something that I always cherish, always remember. So it's a great opportunity. You know, college, education, medical benefits, dental. It's really a great opportunity for, you know, I'm sure I saw some other hands up here raised when we asked for honor veterans. So we appreciate your guys' service. So with that, is there, you know, any questions that anybody has? There is a rumor that we're supposed to slate in 2024. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but it is a rumor. Sir?
Was the Guard ever deployed in an active combat zone?
Yes. Yes. Our unit in the 947th in 2012 was in Afghanistan. So that was their mission. They went out and assisted, and back then it was a strictly horizontal, heavy horizontal. So they assisted in maintaining runways for the Air Force. We co-use with the Air Force a lot. We joined with them. So that was their primary mission, was maintaining and building roads and runways back in 2012.
The 928 was in Baja,
Yes.
or the Charlie back then.
Charlie Company, yeah. So the medical unit here in 2011, or they went 2001 and then 2011.
2004.
Or four?
Yeah.
So yes, there was a medical unit and they were both Iraq and Afghanistan.
At the onset of 9/11, the onset of 9/11, there was a military presence at the airport. Was that the Guard, and if it was, what was your function during that time?
Yes, that was the local Colorado National Guard. It was a statewide activation. They call them SAD orders, state activation duty. So our mission was to essentially was as a military presence, as a police presence. We assisted the local agencies in, securing the airport, maintaining that security, and assisting local agencies with security ID checks. Just a military police presence that was kind of the main focus of that mission.
It wasn't just at the airport. I forgot to mention this. It's actually in my notes. After 9/11, a lot of soldiers were activated for extra security at airports, but we were also activated for extra security at important infrastructures like water treatment plants, electrical power facilities, or the grid, the power grid facilities, and things like that, because they thought that terrorists would hit those next. So I forgot to mention that. Thanks for asking.
Wasn't it the Montrose unit that did the Buckhorn Road a couple of years ago, well, probably 4 years ago now? And will you do it again?
Yes, that was our unit. We had some good training opportunities. We had some mishaps as well, but that's part of training, right? We do like to go out to the community and assist. The city. Was that with the city, or that wasn't with the county? Was it?
I'm not sure.
I think with the city. We worked through the city with that one. And yes, we do that. 2 years ago, we were up on 25 Mesa Road, up at Columbine Campground, and we put a bunch of gravel down and worked with the Forest Service and the county on that one. So we do. That's kind of our 2-week annual training. We go out and try to do real world training and give our younger soldiers that opportunity.
So I have 2 questions. One, will the Space Force, and I think that's another branch of government, or
It is,
military
yeah.
now, will that be, the Guard have an opportunity to serve in that? And then the other one, I think is more important to me, is a lot of our youth coming out of high school now graduate, or they don't graduate, with a lot of coping skills, life skills, and things like that. Apparently, the 2 of you have really gotten some benefit out of being in the Guard. What type of soldier to soldier relationships and unit cohesion go towards developing good, solid adults?
I'm going to let Ashley kind of pick up on this one, but as well, I'm obviously been in the Guard. I've been in 18 years. My wife, 19 years. Ashley's been in 11 years. So it's, sorry, I'll hold it up. So yeah, we actually, it's my sole mission. That's, again, the reason why I came back in the Guard is to mentor younger soldiers, especially in the construction industry, right? Because I feel like the construction industry is never going to go away. You're not going to get a robot to repair, somebody's house, or, a building or infrastructure. So part of what I like to do is mentor those younger soldiers, whatever, male, female, wherever they live. We always try to incorporate them into our training. We check up on them during non-duty hours during the week, during the months, you know, that we have protocols in place to, you know, do a buddy check, and, you know, it's a text message, it's a phone call. And then we always try to seek out their civilian lives, you know, what are you doing, what's your job, where are you at, you know, do you need help, do you need assistance, you know, family programs is another program that the National Guard has, that if you're struggling in an area, there's programs in place, there's civilian entities that go out and will help you and assist you in getting yourself in a better place. There's education programs, there's college tuition assistance, you know, you want to go to college and you don't want to pay for college, I mean, it's free, right? They'll pay you to go to school full time, no questions asked. You know, you go to school and you provide your grades and it's there. It's a free benefit. There's medical benefits, full medical. I mean, you pay what, $52 a month for full medical, and dental is like $10, $11 a month. So, you know, a quarter of your drill check, you're covered with medical, dental, vision, and you can go to school for free. You know, what better opportunity is there for that? You know, you get 2 days out of the month and 2 weeks out of the summer, and I don't know, it sounds like a pretty good program to me, so. But I'll let Ashley kind of pick on that as well.
So your first question, the Space Force, they're currently recruiting in service only, so you have to be in one of the branches of the military to join the Space Force. I don't know if they're gonna have a reserve component. I really hope so, because I would love to join the Space Force. It seems like it's gonna be a lot easier than any other branch. And I always tell people if I could do it all over again, I think I would join the Air Force.
Go Air Force.
Just because they always stay in nice hotels and they don't sleep on the ground, which, I mean, it's fun too. To answer your second question, it's so hard as a recruiter to go into high schools and to see kids today, and to see how far, and I hope I don't strike any nerves, but to see how far we have fallen as people. And I don't know if there's any one thing that we can blame. I think it's a lot of things as a whole. And with what Mike said, we try to mentor soldiers that come into the Guard. One of the reasons I wanted to be a recruiter is because of how it turned my life around. I wanted to give other people the opportunity that I had. I was in a bad place. I was a single mom on government assistance, and I didn't know what I was gonna do. I didn't want my kids to grow up looking at me and thinking that that was okay, thinking it was okay to rely on someone else to support yourself. I wanted them to know that they could do whatever they wanted to do. And thank God I had the opportunity to join the Guard. So I want to give other people that opportunity. When I recruit someone, I make sure that I am there for them every step of the way until they leave for basic training. I tell them that I am your boss right now. If something changes in your life, you need to let me know. I will call you once a week and I will ask you how you're doing. You will tell me how you're doing. If you stubbed your toe, you will let me know. Like, I need to know everything that is going on in your life. And it kind of changes their lifestyle. It kind of gives them a reason to pay attention to what they're doing and to consciously think about the consequences of their decisions. So I think if we, as leaders in any military branch, can go forward mentoring our lower enlisted soldiers like that, we can really make a difference in the young ones that are growing up. Now, our real problem is getting people into the military right now. And we've all heard the issues with that, and I think changes are coming, so we'll see how that goes.
Sounds like you're parenting.
Unfortunately, I think that is the way that it is going, because like I said, I don't wanna hurt any feelings or step on any toes, but that's not what's, parenting has gone to the wayside with generations that are coming up right now.
I had a question on the, so I'd call it the hierarchy and how decisions are made as far as interaction between the federal branches and the state reserves. So like, for example, you had mentioned at the very beginning, I think in 2025, we may be going to Croatia or
Kuwait.
Kuwait. And so I was just curious, well, how was the decision made that we would go there? How was it decided, you know, what is our purpose of where we go? Why then? Why 2025? And then how much of that decision making involves working with the federal branches? And do they have more of an input, or do you have to go to them for authorization or approval?
Do you know about that? Yeah.
So without saying too much, right, it's a rotation cycle, okay? Everything, the big Army, this all comes from big Army. You know, big Army, their numbers are way down, their recruiting's way down. So a lot of times, the reserves of National Guard have to infill those positions that the active duty Army can't fill in. So it used to be called the ARPHAGEN cycle, so our unit would be on a big cycle, right? So big Army says, DOD tells big Army that, hey, look, here's our mission, this is what we're gonna be doing, make it happen, right? So big Army goes through and they see all their assets, they see all their personnel, they see all their units, and that's when they just start picking people and putting those people in those positions. So we didn't have to go to the state didn't have to go to the Army, you know, they didn't have to go to the DOD. The DOD, it comes from the top down. So that's how that happens.
So when you're in the National Guard, like as a high school student and you go through, then what's your obligation to the National Guard once you've graduated from college?
So there's a few different contracts that you can sign. The best contract for any high school student is called a 6x2. Every armed forces contract is 8 years period. And then you can break that into 6 years of active and then 2 years of inactive, 4 years of active, 4 years of inactive. And by inactive, I mean you just sit at home and don't do anything. You don't go anywhere, you don't report to anyone. It's an inactive status. In the National Guard, our contracts are usually 6 years of active drilling, 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks in the summer, and then 2 years of an inactive status where you don't do anything. But if Nikes hits the fan, they can call you up and say, hey, you need to come back, right? That 6-year contract will get you, I don't have my benefits up here, it'll get you your state and federal tuition assistance, it'll get you that Montgomery GI Bill, that $428 a month, and then that extra $200 a month. And then if you score high enough on your ASVAB, then it can also get you up to a $20,000 enlistment bonus. There was something else I was gonna say. Also, with the National Guard, you can join when you turn 17 and you're a junior in high school. So when you finish your junior year, you actually go to basic training, and then you come back and finish your senior year as a soldier, and you drill once a month and get paid a paycheck your senior year. And then after you graduate high school, you go and do your job school. So if you sign up to be a plumber, you would go do a job school to be a plumber or be an electrician or, you know, whatever job you chose. So
I was reflecting with the attack this week on the substations. When that happens, usually there are copycats. Do you guys ever get alerted, since we've got a lot of power grids around us, do you ever get alerted that there's been a shooting at these two substations, wiped out power? You need to be on the alert. Are you ever called up for things like that?
Personally, I have never seen anything like that. I don't, have you?
No, typically what we would do, I mean, yes, maybe, but that's at the much higher level. That's probably at the state level, you know, way up here. We're down here at our local level. You know, we did get activated for the inauguration, right? Our unit went to 947th, we got called like 5 hours prior to us lifting off on an airplane going to Washington, D.C. But for smaller stuff like that, typically no. I'm sure with our higher ups, you know, way up at the state level, they will be alerted, and I'm sure they're you know, have somebody ready in case something else bigger happens. You know, we got our NGRF, which is, you know, our quick reaction force per se at the state level. So yes, potentially, yes. I'm not gonna say it's not ever happened, but typically, we need a much bigger natural disaster, a fire, a flood, you know, 9/11, something of that sort to be able, it's very expensive to activate a National Guard. But something that small, I don't think that's typically a case.
So, Mike, Ashley, what's the demographics in a rough look of the Montrose Army National Guard? You have, is it 17? You said you could be in the National Guard up to 70 years old, is that correct?
62 with exceptions, waivers is what we call them. But yeah, you can join at 17 after all of your training, and when you come back from all of your training, you're typically 18 years old. And then yeah, you can stay all the way until you're 62, as long as you can pass all the requirements.
And requirements in a nutshell is a physical test?
Yeah.
Okay.
Our physical fitness tests, and then our height and weight standards.
And Ashley, you mentioned to me that you have a lot of retired Army people that chose to come to the National Guard just to keep their benefits going. That's a real perk as well, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
So we have the same, so we have TRICARE. I'm considered active duty because I work full time. So I have the same insurance that active duty Army does. I don't pay anything a month, and I don't pay any co-pays or anything. And day soldiers, the people that drill 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks in the summer, they have what's called TRICARE Reserve Select. So for a single soldier, it's $52 a month. For a family, it's about $240 a month, which is still about $1,000 less than what you can find it on the private market, or even through some, you know, other, I don't know what the city is, but I don't want to throw them under the bus. So a lot of soldiers that are active duty, you know, any branch, we get a lot of Marines typically, will come over, and even though that $240 is probably half of their drill check, they're willing to give it up for that health insurance.
For the armory here, is it very local, or do you have people coming throughout the state when they're supposed to do their weekend?
We have soldiers all from all of the Front Range. We have one soldier that drives 8 hours one way to get to drill. You know, obviously with weather and you know, adverse driving situations, we're flexible with him. But yeah, he drives 8 hours one way to come to drill, and absolutely loves it. Just absolutely loves it.
I was going to ask, the high school has an ROTC program. Do you guys get to interface with that in any way?
I do. We, in the past, have been one of the biggest supporters of the ROTC program here. We're usually do a lot of their camps with them in the summer and things like that. But when COVID hit, it really shut a lot of things down, and it was super hard to get back in with the school. And the principal they had there for the last, I don't know how many years, is not very military friendly. Yeah, and the new instructor they have, Master Gunnery Sergeant Kenner, he is a super nice guy. So yeah, I get in there and I talk to the kids and we do presentations and all kinds of stuff. yeah, it's a great program.
A couple questions. Do you have the same equipment as a regular army, say like assault weapons, or you're not using an M1, so to speak? Also, are the employers required to let you go for the 2 weeks training?
Yes, so the National Guard is supported by something called the ESGR, which is the Employer Support Readiness Group. And it's actually a federal law that they have to let soldiers go for their weekend training and there are 2 weeks in the summer. And if they have any issues or if they fire a soldier for it, there can be lawsuits brought against them. Your second question, we have the same equipment and weapons that any active duty unit would have, including heavy weapons, light weapons, Humvees, construction equipment, things like that.
So the chief of the National Guard sits on the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and I would assume they're probably like a 3-star, I would imagine, get that high. Given that, is the training, curriculum, the physical requirements and things like that the same as full active military?
Yes. The only difference is for National Guard and day soldiers, is they're only required to take a PT test once a year and do height weight once a year. Active duty is required to do it twice a year.
Okay, ratio of women to men in the National Guard, Montrose and what you see even Grand Junction twice?
I think the last statistic I heard was 1 woman to every 6 or 7 men. So it's not, I mean, it's kind of low. Yeah.
You look quite impressive in your uniform. Thank you for wearing it.
I was just curious if everything in the news right now with the COVID vaccine and they're trying to get that taken care of, does that impact the reserves? Are you required to get the
Yes,
COVID shot?
100%.
Okay.
Yes. And I heard that on the news this morning too, and my eyes got wide. We do have a lot of soldiers who are pending discharge right now because of the refusal or they submitted religious exemptions. So they're just waiting for approval or disapproval. So I mean, it's all really up in the air. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know. It would be nice though. The one thing I can say is I have had potential recruits say I'm not going to join because I don't want to get the shot. So if they do rescind the requirement, I think I am going to have at least 2 or 3 people willing to join. So yes.
Any more questions? So Mike, thanks for coming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Especially
Thank
having a
you,
local,
guys.
yeah, I appreciate that. Ashley, thanks for driving down from Grand Junction. She gets here this morning and she says, I have some social problems talking, so I'm sorry, and I thought she did really well. So could we give her a round